Hello everybody, I'm Päivi Eerola, a Finnish artist and art teacher, and I try to make a new kind of video this time. So I have two cameras, one that records me and one that records what I do, and this is pretty challenging because it's not easy to create and talk at the same time. But on the other hand, I've got so many requests or wishes or dreams that from people who say that they would like to come to my studio and paint them, but because I live in Finland it's so far, and so I thought that I'd try this kind of thing that will take you further in the creating process and maybe inspires you to create as well at the same time than I do. I have watercolors here, so I have my watercolor set, which is White Nights watercolors by St. Petersburg, and I love this set because the colors are so intense. And I also have watercolor paper cut in a square because I like square because I can turn it around. So I just start painting. I pick a color that calls me most and mix some colors, and I make an area here that is my play area. I can freely put any colors there and add some water and let it all get mixed there. And I don't mind so much of the ugliness of colors or such. If I add some more water, the colors will get mixed and they will look just lovely. And if they don't, I can always add another layer if I just keep the colors thin and not so intense. When I add colors, I kind of thinking about singing and music and how it's not just continuous stream, continuous ooh, it's more like ooh, ooh, ooh. It has a rhythm. So I try to make the similar kind of rhythm, and also the music is not always, the rhythm is also not always even like dung dung dung. It's more like dung dung dung. So I just add colors and don't really think about this too much, other than just thinking about the rhythm and the music. Then when working with watercolors, there's always the point when you have to decide when you let the layers dry a bit so that you don't just mess up what you've just painted. So I think it will be very soon. I will now continue this painting, and always when I feel a bit insecure with watercolors, I use quite a lot of water so that it actually doesn't show really so much when it's dry. So watercolors look really intense when you lay them on paper, but then when you let them dry, then it's not, the color is not so intense. So you have your chance to make adjustments and add more details after the paint has dried. And that's also one of my problems, that I'm often too eager to wait for paint to dry. So then I often take a thin brush and just make the most of the wet paint that's there. And that's also something that I don't know if you have thought of that. When you have put the paint on paper or on canvas, if you're painting with acrylics or oils, you can always move the paint around on the paper. You don't always have to add more paint. So that's often a secret for creating more subtle details and which are not so dominating. Just focus on moving the paint around and having a bit less paint in some areas. Another thing that I often try to think when I'm painting is that I try to add diversity here. So I don't just make similar strokes around the whole painting. I use all kinds of strokes that make the painting more interesting and make my imagination go. Grow too. One thing that I've thought a lot of lately is that how art needs attention and how we need attention as artists. And even if you're a beginner, I think it's something that every artist should notice, that art loves attention and we should give opportunities for that. It's often heartbreaking when people see art and doesn't say anything or doesn't react in any way. It feels really disappointing. I've thought about that a lot, how heartbreaking it is, and I've also thought of myself that when I create art and when I've created something and when I want to show it to somebody, and if I get no reaction, it makes me think that what did I do wrong, or what should I have done to deserve the attention. And then on the other hand, when I browse Instagram, for example, myself, I'm often quite busy and I'm looking for a certain thing, and if I see art there in my feed, I don't always press like, because I'm just for example looking for a specific thing there at that time. So it's often something that people don't always do intentionally, but I've noticed that that there's this phenomenon that when the art gets attention, the artist will grow and the art will grow. And that was something that was so delightful when I had my coaching program last summer, and I had reserved a lot of time to give attention to the people who were in the group and their art, and it was so delightful to see the art grow and develop. And also it was so delightful to talk with them. We had live sessions where we shared our thoughts about artistic development and about art that we had created. And I also gave some tips, some practical tips, but then also we talked about what is it like being an artist, and when you want to step up the next level, what it is and what it should contain. And it was not only about art but also about putting your art into words and things like that. And I enjoyed that I was able to give the attention that the art that the participants made during the program. And actually I remember that one of my old dreams was to be some kind of agent for artists, and in that coaching program it it kind of was because I was coaching them, and it felt really good. And I'm going to repeat that coaching program next year. And if you're interested, see the Exploring Artist in my shop page. The contents are there. And then lately, or actually last spring, I made a decision to focus on flowers, which doesn't mean that I'm going to create florals for the rest of my life. I just made the decision that this summer will be a summer of flowers. I wanted to investigate what's so wonderful with flowers. Why are everybody creating floral paintings? And it's a simple shape, I understand that, but still, and also a symbol of beauty. But still, I thought that if I combine flowers with playing with styles, if I look at the paintings that have been painted during the centuries, from Renaissance to 20th century, then maybe when I study that, I will reveal the secret of a flower. I think that the secret really is that flowers combine really geometric shapes, and then there's really freeform shapes when you're thinking about how the light hits the color, the flower, and how the colors change. And that's just mind-blowing that one flower can be so clearly defined and still it can be so free. So now I think that I will turn this painting around, because I often think that art is also about seeing and not so much of creating only. So I try to look at this from the different directions and see if there are details that I like and want to enhance. And I think I will continue so that it's upside down. So now when I have let the paint dry a bit, I see a girl or a woman there or a person there in the painting, and when I do that, I don't usually try to force it to be something else. So I'm going to make this person a bit more clearer, and I'm going to finish this painting using Turner acrylic gouache colors. One challenge in painting is always this, that when you start the painting, you try to build the whole picture there, but actually it's not possible. And if you open the subject and understand that it can be ugly at some phases, and it can be actually just splashes of color for some time, then it's much easier to start building the thing when your imagination grows by working. I strongly believe this theory of imagination growing when you're doing something. And I know most of us are thinkers and we like to know what we are painting. But if you can let go even a bit of that, some time to figure out what's going on here in this painting, and it's quite impossible to speak at the same time when figuring out that. But now I realize that this is something about a girl with the birds and about freedom and things like that. So I've added some birds there too, probably because my birds were singing. Then I also got inspired by them, and so I also add some more watercolors there and soften them with the cloth. That's my first aid for everything. Yeah, I think now I only need to add some black, because the face here is so small. It's so challenging because it really is so small. It's really difficult to adjust those fine details when they are so tiny. There are moments of despair in every work, I think, but the secret is to just continue and work through it and not stop too soon. There's often paintings that we start that feel like I'm going to do just a quick one, and then we end up struggling with many hours. But if you think about the old painters, how they painted their paintings for years, it's nothing like that. And I don't believe in overworking. I understand the concept, and I recognize when I'm near the end that it's only, there's no objective truth when to stop. But I often feel that if I continue, it will be better, and I often see work that would be so much better if the finishing could be, if some more finishing could be done there. I also think that when you're near the end, the painting becomes enjoyable again, and that's why it's a good reason not to stop too soon, to have some more enjoyment out of the process. And of course, every painting doesn't have to be a masterpiece. There's something to learn in every painting. But when aiming for loose things, it helps a lot if you're familiar with playing with shapes. That's one thing that I thought when I planned for my floral painting class, is that when investigating the geometric shapes first, the intuitive approach will become easier, because you then have a toolbox. And also, when you're playing with geometric shapes, then you also have time to focus on compositions, and that's also a good thing too. But then I think that even if I talk about compositions and skills and such, I think that it's really important to increase imagination, and I think that imagination is one of the best and big things in art, and to me it's the most important thing. so here's my finished painting, and I think it's about a girl who has birds, so birds flying to the girl, and then maybe some cameras over her head and a lot of thinking going on. So a very accurate expression of this session, and that's also the problem in intuitive art often, that all the things will come up there in the painting, and then the good thing and wonderful thing is that you can really express yourself when you're creating intuitively. And this intuitive creating is also part of my newest floral painting class. This week too, when we create intuitively, and before that we experiment with shapes and all kinds of styles from 20th century. Art Deco, Art Nouveau, all the beautiful stuff. And then we start painting intuitively and putting all those shapes into more organic and less intentional form. And then there are also 2 weeks of painting layers, and you learn to paint like the old masters did in the 16th and 17th centuries. You can bring some Renaissance effect to your personal art, and I think that's the main thing in classes in general, that you get methods and techniques and ideas that you can fine-tune and make your own. In this class I look forward to seeing beautiful floral art and help artists create imaginative art out of very common subject, flowers. And in the last week of the class we will have a live session celebrating all the art that has been created, and I give my last tips for the artists that attend the class. I hope to see you there, and also if you're interested in my coaching program or just my weekly emails that I send, please go to www.peonyandparakeet.com and you'll find lots of art inspiration there too.